Hey, very good evening to all our viewers, and welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Tewan Jabela, your host. Tonight we are welcoming back to the show the national chairperson of Namibian Lives Matter, Sinvula Mudabeti, who has been fighting with others, or alongside others, against the injustices that remain to be simmering within the Zambezi region as far as relations between the residents of that region and the authorities in Botswana, especially the army, is concerned. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you for having me again.
Let's start with the letter that you wrote towards the end of last year. It was a letter written to prominent Namibian leaders. I think the Ombudsman also was included in the list of recipients, where you again raised a lot of issues regarding the relationship between the supposed harassment of Namibians by the Botswana Defence Force, when actually everybody thought this matter has now been resolved.
Yeah. Last year, on the 11th of November, we received reports that a boat skipper and tourists were on the Chobe River, and they were approached by heavily armed Botswana Defence Force soldiers who told them that they were on the side of Botswana and asked them to leave, despite the fact that the boat skipper tried to reason with the BDF. They did not listen, and they ordered him to leave immediately, otherwise he was going to face trouble. And we know trouble would be being shot. And we reported that matter. We asked the Prime Minister, as custodian of government business in Parliament, that she needed to address this matter. She only acknowledged receipt of our letter and promised to come back to us. We wrote again to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations, asking her that can we urgently meet and look at that issue. She did not respond. We wrote again to the Minister of Safety and Security, Dr. Albert Kawana, as custodian of internal security in the country, that when our internal security is violated by BDF continuously, he needed to address the matter. We also wrote to Honorable Pamba Shveta, as custodian of tourism sector, that the BDF were now threatening tourists, and it was the second time. So we wanted to engage him and hear how we were going to resolve that matter. None of them responded. We also wrote a letter to the Ombudsperson, asking him to call in the Inspector General of the Namibian Police as to the reasons why they are not arresting a Namibian spy who Botswana hired and used in the execution of the Nchindo brothers. So that's what transpired last year. Up to now, there has not been any response coming. So we will call a press statement to inform the nation very soon that government continues to ignore these genuine plights and concerns.
Yeah. Just on that point, if a Namibian boat, like in that case, or cruise ship was found on the Botswana side of the river, why is the BDF not justified in confronting Namibians in that case?
Yes, you see, there are navigation rules that you find, and when you are in international waters, when you are supposed to be on the Namibian side, for example, when the water is shallow on the Namibian side, you are allowed to use the Botswana side as you transit. When you also find a rocky area on your side, you use the Botswana side. The BDF have been doing this all these years. No one forbids them, because we understand these are international conventions on shared riverine resources. But when it happens with Namibians, you know, they don't give back the same courtesy and respect we give them. They also don't even show professional courtesy in engaging our authorities like we do. And this is why, for us, Botswana cannot be justified in owning the Chobe River. Their behavior is that of owning the entire Chobe River, and frustrating not just fishermen. Now they are even going to frustrate tourists. They don't even have the decency and respect to see that these are visitors visiting Namibia. And it is in that light that BDF needs to be called to order.
Yeah. Do you think that because it looks as if the Namibian and Botswana heads of state, the current ones, are quite close to each other. The president of Botswana was here on Sunday. He proclaimed on national television here that him and President Geingob are friends, my brother, and this brotherly thing. Has that been able to at least work in favor of the residents in Zambezi? Yeah,
in fact, it has worked against us. First of all, our president, is in breach of the oath of office he took. Constitutionally, he took an oath to say he's going to protect Namibia's national interests, her people and the resources. And suddenly, the private relationship between our president and President Masisi is put above national interests. So we want to register our disappointment that a sitting head of state who has been appointed by, elected into office, public office by Namibians, is failing to uphold a constitutional mandate that was given to him by the people. Secondly, it is very strange that the same president, our president, ordered that the Namibian police send witnesses to the inquest of the Nshindo brothers. There were high-ranking officers who went there. The same president, our president, ordered a Namibian medical doctor to go and observe the autopsy and give a report. The same president also ordered that Namibian divers go and look and see whether the alleged weapon that the Chindo brothers used. After he sent all these, they came back and gave reports. The Namibian medical doctor's witness statement in the inquest was never considered. The divers, their witness statements where they said they could not find the alleged gun. They could not even find spent cartridges for BDF who claimed to have shot the Nshindo brothers at that spot. And these high-ranking scene of crime police officials, including a retired Deputy Commissioner Evans Masiku, who stood in the inquest under oath to confirm that Botswana hired a Namibian as a spy who gave them information, who is on their payroll as we speak. And they didn't challenge that. So here you have a president who sends Namibian officials to represent this government. They come back with terrible reports saying their witness statements were never considered. I sat in that inquest myself for 2 weeks. The governor was on my right side. The chief, the chairperson of the Zambezi Regional Council, Honorable Warden Smushi, was also next to the governor. Our government actually even sent our High Commissioner from Botswana, who was in attendance, and our military attaché. All these men, including Boniface Konga, the control prosecutor then in the Zambezi region, who represented the Attorney General and the Prosecutor General, witnessed how Botswana did not respect any of the evidence given, how Botswana was not objective in that matter. And these reports have come back to the same president, who now welcomes Masisi and laughs with him. And this is what surprises us, that how do you, as a sitting head of state, send people who come back and give you reports that show Botswana is not a fair country, is not a country that respects Namibians. And here you are, you parade him and say you are so close to him.
Yeah, but were you aware of the visit of President Masisi on Sunday?
I was shocked to hear a Botswana journalist later in the evening told me that, please look at this, President Masisi is visiting your country. And that is what shocked me and continues to shock me, that if they want to visit each other as private friends, let it be. But to visit each other in the capacity of sitting presidents without informing the nation, it was a shock, a disappointment, and I don't know how far we will go with such dealings in the presidency.
Yeah. The issue of I mean, these concerns, have you ever, as a movement, raised them with the Botswana High Commission here?
Yeah, when we started in 2020, November, we went to give a petition to the High Commission of Botswana. And he received a petition and promised to come back to us in 2 weeks. He never came back to us, but I'm not surprised. The reason is, why should he come back to us when our president is right in front with President Masisi, saying in the first place that what we were doing was pointless. Secondly, when we asked for protection, the president went on TV and said we were looking for war. Now here is the same president who keeps showing that his friendship with President Masisi cannot be broken by anything that is done. So we, as a movement, our conclusion is that the lives of men and women who come from the Zambezi region do not matter to the president. He has sacrificed our lives at the expense of his personal friendship with President Masisi. Truth be told, if he was an honest president, he would have by now listened to a report by the National Council that went on the ground and found out that the level of aggression meted against innocent and unarmed Namibians by BDF is higher than how we are saying it. The National Assembly in February is about to table a report which I know will reflect the same results, but the president has no respect for the legislative arm of the state, which is supposed to brief him and advise him. And I wonder who else can advise him if he does not listen to members of the Legislative Council who are empowered by the Constitution to raise national concerns.
Yeah. And before we go for the break, what is the attitude of government leaders in Zambezi? The governor, the councillors, the general political leadership in the region?
Yeah, I think the governor has been very straightforward in this matter. He has condemned BDF publicly. He has also voiced his displeasure in the manner in which BDF has handled residents of the Zambezi region. So we want to salute the governor for having stood with the people. I know it is not a very common thing when you are appointed by the president to be his eyes and ears on the ground, that you can stand and, speak out against injustices, especially where the appointing authority supports the aggressor. Secondly, we have councillors in the region who are appointed by the people. I also want to salute Honorable Warden Simushe, councillor for Katima Rural. Majority of people in his constituency have been affected. He has stood for the truth. He went for the inquest. He has been speaking against BDF aggression. However, what is worrying is that these political leaders appear to be weakened by the stance of the president, because politically they are in the same political formation. So somehow you can see that loyalty and being honest is now fighting for a reasonable place. But generally, I think the governor is as political head of the region. He has done very well. He's open to us. We engage him, and he is pushing that BDF aggression stops.
Indeed. We go for a break and return.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
We continue the conversation with Sinvula Mudabeti here. Now, another issue, apart from the shootings and harassment of Namibians by the BDF, another issue that concerns the two countries, I don't know whether your movement is something that it looks at also, but it's about the demarcations. There was this what was it? Was it a report or some sort of study that came to the conclusion that parts that we have considered Namibian are actually being handed to Botswana or something to that effect?
Yeah, we are concerned about that. Let me give a quick historical background. When Namibia got its political independence, we knew from years back, time immemorial, the boundary was the Chobe River, in the middle of the river. And Kasikili Island which became a bone of contention. A former chief of the Masubia, Liswaninyana, lived there. They farmed there, they lived there with cattle. And suddenly Botswana put its flag there. And you could see this was mere provocation. Why was this flag not put when Botswana got its political independence? They couldn't do it because the South African apartheid regime was aggressive. So they waited for a black government that looked weak in the eyes. But let me salute founding father, President Hage. He refused to allow Kasekili to go. And he engaged, and in that engagement, it was found out that Namibia and Botswana could not agree. And that translated into the issue that went to the International Court of Justice, which gave Kasekili to Botswana. We accepted that unfair ruling, but do you know, had ICJ given Kasekili to Namibia, Botswana was going to fight, but we let it pass. After that, the two presidents decided to have a joint commission of 8 experts, 4 Namibians and 4 citizens from Botswana. They wrote a report that was tabled in the office of former President Hage Geingob. He finished his 2 terms without signing that report. 2018, Dr. Hage Geingob signs it. And when he signed it, all the traditional authorities in the Zambezi were not informed. And we were shocked. This issue came up after the Nchindo brothers died. That's when we discovered that it seems territories that we knew were Namibia were now in Botswana. And that is when we started asking questions and saying, look, how do you sign an international agreement by not consulting? I need to state clearly here that the 4 traditional authorities in the Zambezi region have written to the Prime Minister, the Presidency, and everyone and said they were not consulted, they did not give their consent. In fact, they've asked Honorable Kawana, who appears to have been spearheading this issue, can you give minutes of meetings that you held with who, at what point, where these issues were discussed? So it is very disturbing that controversial border treaty of 2018, that gave literally, I traveled that stretch in November from Lianshulu, Sangwali to Impalila. More than 18 islands are now given to Botswana. And I spoke to old people, as old as 90 years. We have the records. Who would show me that's the deep channel and this is the shallow channel. But this is nothing for the president. He does not want to address it. He continues to discuss with Masisi as if that's a matter that is settled. So we do engage government, and I wrote to Honorable Schletwein challenging him because there are recent allegations that have surfaced that even at Kazungula, where 4 countries meet, Botswana is pushing Namibia away. And we have those records, but Honorable Schletwein did not answer. So I think they know what they are doing. The Zambezi region is officially the stepchild of this country. That's why the president does not care.
Mm. Do you think, in what condition has that treaty left the Namibian communities? Do you think that this harassment is also now emerging from that treaty to say, but officially you are not supposed to be here. You are Namibians and you're supposed to be far away from here. Do you think it has contributed to that?
Yeah, in fact, it gives license to BDF. Look, BDF has been shooting people even without the treaty. And so when you sign a treaty where you show that you have not consulted your own people, but you keep telling Botswana that, look, it is not an issue. We, as far as government is concerned, that treaty is binding. You are technically saying the residents of the Zambezi, Botswana and central government can actually team up against them. So it has given license to BDF to now kill legally and say, look, these people have come into our country legally. Secondly, it has given them more aggression to say, we have been signing these agreements with the Namibian government. What is the problem with residents of the Zambezi? And thirdly, international treaties are not to be done the way our government has done. That treaty was ratified in Parliament, but we asked the president, do not deposit that treaty with SADC and the AU before these matters are resolved. But they've continued to actually sign one agreement after the other, even in the presence of evidence that Botswana is using that treaty to just increase its aggression.
Yeah. The Zambezi region has had, there are always pockets of discontent. There are even people, saying, look, we want the region to go back to what it used to be, which supposedly was that it was a country on its own. People not feeling very much as Namibians. Do you think these are the things that nurture sometimes this kind of views, people feeling like they are neglected, they are on their own, and therefore they are better off being just on their own?
Yeah, because look, 1964, when our forefathers went to exile, they didn't go as SWAPO members. They went as Caprivi African National Union. They were very clear on what their mandate was. KANU merged with SWAPO to fight a common enemy, apartheid South Africa. But from 1964, when the late Brendan Simbwa died, there has been systematic cleansing, ethnic cleansing of high-ranking political figures from KANU into SWAPO by the SWAPO government. We have minutes that we can show. There were meetings held even in Tanzania, chaired by former President Nuyoma. The agenda item was the issue of Caprivians before Namibia got its independence. So we have seen that this has been happening for a long time, and it continues. Look, when you look at the fatalities in exile, the second largest ethnic group that was in exile were Caprivians. And because we were few, but the ratio of those who died, if you were to compare us with Vambos, we exceed them by far. But look at how we are being treated in this country, where our forefathers fought on all sides to make sure that this country we call Namibia is free. Today, that history is packed aside, and we continue to be discriminated. That is why we are saying we will not allow it any longer. We will fight tooth and nail to have these issues corrected. And it is in this light that we are not surprised when we see President Hage Geingob mistreating us. Had this happened somewhere, my brother, there were people who were shot in Lusaka last 2 years ago, and the evidence was clear. They were thieves. But the rate at which government was pushing and fighting, I asked Honorable Netumbo, who's going to be our next president now, the questions I want to ask even now. Why are you not doing the same when Zambezi residents are killed? So that discrimination continues, and it's going to bring discontent. Let me put a disclaimer. When others decide to say they want Caprivi to be a country, they get arrested, you put them in jail for high treason. When I decide myself that I am Namibian and I come here and want to be part of this country, then I am told I do not matter. So it's a predicament that the president needs to address very soon. State security agents are hunting us. At the appointed time, we will give evidence on how every time people from the Zambezi region stand up and speak against injustice, they are called names that they want Caprivi to be a country, But we will not allow that, and we will fight tooth and nail using constitutional means, and finally democratic means to register our discontent and displeasure.
So you can state on record that, you don't have to. So does your movement advocate in any way for the secession of Caprivi?
No.
Of Zambezi?
Our movement advocates for fairness. Residents of the Zambezi need to be treated like any other citizen of this country.
Yeah.
We have no association with those who want Caprivi to be a country. But what we are saying is, what is the price that we who call ourselves Namibians, bona fide Namibians, and the presidency calls you pointless. The president tells you, must he train you for war when you are asking for protection. The president laughs with those who are killing you. So the writing is clear on the wall. Maybe we are forcing ourselves. He needs to come out clear. Perhaps the constitution of this country does not apply to the residents of the Zambezi. If he comes out clearly, I think we'll agree and say, Mr. President, we've heard you. But as far as we are concerned, we are bona fide Namibians. That is why our parents went to fight for the liberation of this country. We refuse to be put on the sideline when their blood waters our freedom.
Absolutely. Sinvula, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you very much, Toivo, for having me.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
That is Sinvula Mudabeti. He is chairperson of the Namibian Lives Matter movement. Just filling us in on the latest regarding the work and aspirations of the movement. Thank you for watching.